11 unbelievable mummy discoveries from around the world. Number 11. Extinct cat mummy. Mummies are some of the best pieces of historical remains archaeologists can find, and they tell us quite a bit about history. Preserved remains of organisms can tell us things about burial rituals, what kind of food they ate, and the type of clothing worn. But also, mummies of different organisms can help us discover new species. The unbelievable remains we see here are of a rare species of cat that was discovered in central Turkey in February of 2016. And you can tell the fangs make it look as though it's not a house cat. It's said to measure about 3 feet long and is naturally mummified. A 3-foot cat is not something you would normally see running around someone's house. Experts have failed to identify the species of cat, but they're pretty sure it's extinct. What do you think this creature is? Number 10. Mammoth Discovery. The woolly mammoth was a majestic creature that roamed the frigid lands during the Ice Age. Finding skeletons of woolly mammoths happen every now and then, but finding one that's been preserved in ice and is nearly in the same condition the day it died is quite a remarkable discovery. Here in this photo, we see a 39,000-year-old woolly mammoth found in Siberia being exhibited in Japan, with fur still intact, and it's quite a remarkable sight to see. After being trapped in glacial ice, it's allowed for preservation on an extraordinary level. The mammoth's fur remains intact, and even this blood sample was taken. Since the trunk is completely comprised of tissue and muscle, this would have been completely decayed if the conditions weren't just right. Number 9. 1 million mummy discovery. After a large series of excavations by BYU near a city of Fayum, there were estimated to be a total of 1 million mummies that are buried there. Most of the people buried here date back to Roman and Byzantine times in the 7th century AD and were relatively poor. Since mummification was a rather expensive process, many of the bodies were not well preserved. Many internal organs were not removed, which increases the speed of decay, meaning they were not embalmed properly. Scientists uncovered more than 1,700 mummies in 2014, but there's no updates how many since then. The best preserved mummies were wrapped in linen or reeds, and the dry climate helped preserve them, but the ones we see here are still rather crude mummies from ancient Egyptian standards. Number 8. Otzi Discoveries. You might be familiar with the discovery of Otzi, the Iceman, who is Europe's oldest preserved mummy. His body was found 25 years ago around the Austrian and Italian border by a group of hikers in the Alps. However, this mummy has proven to give us an endless amount of information, and they're still making discoveries about him. This man died about 5,300 years ago, which was before the pyramids or Stonehenge were built. Scientists agree that this is one of the most remarkable mummy discoveries ever made, and some believe that studying the bacteria found in his stomach could lead to advancements in modern medicine. In 2001, they found an arrowhead lodged in his shoulder, which appeared to be one of the reasons for his demise. They also found signs of acupuncture, which was believed to have originated from China. Other mummies could be out there in the Alps, just waiting to be discovered. Number 7. Tallinn Man. The Tallinn Man is still one of the most remarkable mummy discoveries in the world, and scientists have learned so much from this discovery. This one wasn't preserved with ice or mummification techniques, but the mysterious conditions of the Danish bogs which allow for preservation all the way down to the wrinkles on his face and the stubble on his chin. You're looking at the face of a prehistoric man, which might be a little bit mind-boggling for historians. It was discovered in May of 1950 when brothers were exploring this area in Denmark. Since it seems so well preserved, police had actually thought it was indeed a murder scene. It's believed that this man was a part of some sacrificial ritual due to the way his body was positioned. Number 6. Irish Bog Mummies. Ireland is also home to some bog people, which have taught archaeologists about strange rituals that took place by the Druids from 365 BC to 175 BC. A piece of torso with the arm still connected that we see here was discovered in the central county of Olafi, and scientists dubbed him Old Croggan Man. One theory suggests that the man was a king who was sacrificed in order to ensure good weather and a bountiful harvest. This isn't as much of a sad story as you might think. Some skincare companies believe the key to youthful-looking skin can be found in these Irish bogs, or ingredients close to it, and have been selling the mud in a product called Agra that we see in this photo. Number 5. Ramses the Great. The most well-known mummies certainly come from the country of Egypt, and we should consider ourselves lucky to have found the mummy of Ramses the Great, who was one of the most influential pharaohs of Egypt. Ramses' mummy is found in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, but was originally discovered in Deir el-Bahari. Due to grave robbers in Egyptian times, his father decided to move his body from the Valley of the Kings to this location. Ramses completed monuments such as Abu Simbel, established prosperous cities, and was a military genius. Being able to have his mummy still intact is a significant discovery to preserve history. Number 4. Incan mummies. Strangely enough, the Incas also had very similar sacrificial rituals to the Europeans that we mentioned earlier, and we know this thanks to uncovering mummies in the Andes Mountains. This 500-year-old frozen mummy was discovered in Argentina, and it seems to be of an adolescent girl who researchers believed had tuberculosis. Besides the mummy itself, another remarkable thing about this find is the well-preserved clothing that she's wearing. It's believed that the Incas would select a beautiful child from different villages, sedate them with herbal potions, and leave them in the Andes Mountains as a method of sacrifice. Number 3. Inuit baby mummy. When researchers came across this mummy in Greenland, they had originally thought it was a doll of some type. It turns out they were completely wrong and it was the body of a baby. But that wasn't all they had discovered. There were essentially 6 women stacked on top of each other, as we can tell from this illustration, and the mass tomb also contained clothing made from seal, reindeer, and other items which displayed fashion around 1475 AD. The baby placed on top appears to show signs of Down syndrome and was buried alive. This was also the only boy found here. Just by finding the mummies, it isn't exactly enough information to tell why they were buried. But as we've seen from other cultures, it could have been some type of traditional reason. The icy conditions in Greenland were enough to preserve the bodies and the ones around it. Number 2. Hatshepsut's mummy. Queen Hatshepsut was Egypt's first ruling female pharaoh nearly 3,500 years ago. She was also more powerful than Cleopatra or Nefertiti. The discovery of her mummy was a massive find for Egyptology, and we can finally put a real face to all the glorious accomplishments. After discovering her mummy, they determined that she had problems with her teeth and also diabetes at the age of 50. They believe that it's her mummy because of the way her arms are positioned, which signifies royalty. However, Zahi Hawass doesn't believe it's true because she was too large to match written records. And number 1. Chinese Noblesse Discovery. Finally, we venture off to the continent of Asia for our final discovery. This one dates back to 700 AD, and she was discovered 6 feet underground as Chinese roadworkers made the discovery. This mummy is remarkably well preserved to the point where her eyebrows are still intact. It's not exactly sure what it was that preserved her body, but she was found submerged in some type of weird brown liquid. The woman was wearing a traditional ring on her right hand, which likely symbolized that she was a part of a ruling class. Her delicate silk and cotton outfit still remains intact from the 1300s, and it was quite a high-profile ceremony at the time. This was found in the Jiangsu province of China, and it's quite a remarkable discovery for Chinese history.